All right. One of the things to take into consideration for this problem is you have both x's and y's. So when you write your binomial factors, they're going to have an x on the left term, y on the right term for each of them. So let's go ahead and factor our fractions independently. So the numerator of our first fraction, okay, it's a trinomial with a leading coefficient of 1. So our first terms, whose product is x squared, have to be x and x. The last terms have to be two numbers whose product is -2 and whose sum is +1. So a +2 and a -1. And then the y means we do have to include a y on this. So again, when I write my y here, I'm not going to leave the 1 in front of it. It's just the unwritten 1. In the denominator, you can remove a common factor of x squared, leaving an x plus y. And then in the second fraction, the numerator is a monomial factor, so it's just left as x. And then the denominator also can be factored into binomial factors. When you FOIL, your first terms have to have a product of x squared, so that the only two possibilities are x and x. The last terms are a product of 2 and a sum of 3, so what factors are those? Plus 1 and plus 2. And they also have to have a y attached to it. So once you set all your factors, you can now look to cancel any common factors. So we have an x plus 2y that gets canceled, and that's it. There's no other common factors that you can remove. Or actually, this x and one of these x's can cancel. The x minus y does not. So when we write our answer, the x minus y is going to stay in the numerator. And then in the denominator, just write them out as factors. Your monomial factor first. Your binomial factor is the repeated one. So the repeated factor of repeated multiplication is indicated by power. And then we need to identify what x cannot equal. So when you look, there's two factors that got canceled from the denominator, and x, but not all of the x's, so we don't have to worry about that. And then this factor tells us that x cannot equal what value? Just in this case, the opposite of that thing, the value being added, so -2y. So that would be your